We're live, but I can't actually see that little button that says that we're live. But anyway, I am going to suppose that we're live. So good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Today is, I think it might be coming up to the last weekend in October. Can you believe that? Can you believe that we're very, very soon going to be in November? November, the time of, oh no, October's the time of Halloween. Of course, we're coming up to Halloween, which I do believe is next Tuesday. We may or may not, we have to work it out. I have to see if Chris is available to facilitate. If she's not available to facilitate, then I'll have to find somebody else to facilitate because I don't know how to do it. But anyway, so we may, in fact, do some sort of an off the cuff. So while you're all getting together, and I'm giving you all a chance to come on, and I'll mention it later on for those of you who are late coming in. If we were to do an off the cuff, do you remember the off the cuff? Off the cuff is when I just feel like it. You know, comedians, they'll make jokes, and a good comedian will make a joke as in off the cuff, as in quick-witted, as in right there in the moment. So we do have a show which we call off the cuff, but because it's in the moment, decided often in the moment, and the questions can be anything and everything you like, and I can choose whether to answer them or not. See, so we may well on Halloween, for those of you who are around and not partying, not going out to look for ghosts, for those of you who are having nothing better to do, we may or may not, but perhaps one day next week, even if it isn't Tuesday, we will do an off the cuff. So if we were to do an off the cuff, and with off the cuffs, we don't actually set the topic, but I'd like to think of all of those things that you might like to ask me. After all, it is the time of ghosts and ghouls and things that go bump in the night. And do they really, really go bump in the night? Anyway, before we go any further, I'd like to say, first of all, good morning to my spirit guide, Gregor, who is standing as usual by my right side. He's chuckling at me because I got carried away. Of course, I'd like to say good morning to our facilitator, Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Rosemary.
And good morning to you all from me again. And here we are. This is our second. After such a long absence, this is our second show. So we're going to hopefully try to keep doing this on a fairly regularly and try to get back into somewhat of a normal. Oh, I've never been called normal in my life. I don't think I like it. No, I don't want to be normal. I like to be unusual, different. I was talking to my grandson the other day, and he has occasionally one or two problems with his friends at school because he's not normal. And his mother, my daughter, was never normal. And then we come to me, and you know that I am not normal. So, the tendency is for us to be, when we're kids, we're a little bit shy. We know we're not normal. We know we're not like all the other kids. We don't quite know how, and we can't reason it out necessarily, but we definitely know we're not normal. And so we're the kinds of people who, and perhaps some of you have had the same situation, we stand on the sidelines, and we often feel a bit left out of things, and we don't realize until we're older that that's not a bad thing. So trying to explain it to my grandson this week has been a little bit of a task. My daughter worries for him because we all want our kids to be normal and to fit in, don't we? Anyway, blah blah, enough of all of that. Chris, is there anybody there?
There is. They came in fast and furious, Rosemary. Our dear friend Gary is good morning, Rosemary and Chris, and
Hi,
all, and it's so good to see you.
hi, darling. How are you? I think I owe you a call. Maybe later on today we'll get into it. I owe so many people calls. Anyway, so we'll get into it later. All right, keep going.
Maggie's on. She says she's at work. She can only listen.
Hi, darling.
Barb's saying good morning.
Who is?
Barb.
Good morning, Bob.
And then Shamantha's saying, hello, Rosemary. It's nice to see you after such a long time. I wasn't
Good.
able to join in last week as I was traveling, but I really missed your weekly live chats. I hope
You
you have
can.
fully recovered from your injury.
No, I'm not, sweetheart. Go to YouTube. You can access last week's show. I'm not going to talk any more about my injury because I talked about it. I explained it all and talked about it last week. So, no, well, as you can see, I'm still wearing a brace and it's getting slowly better. But now they're talking of surgery perhaps in the new year to fix my thumb. That's all I'm saying about that today. Don't want to even go there or to think about it. But thank you for asking, and thank you to all of you again. All of you who did not manage the show last week and forgot to check into YouTube to see it. Thank you all for your fabulous healing, your fabulous well wishing. You're all brilliant. I love you all, and thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, Chris, keep going.
Joanne saying, so glad to see you. I missed you. Kayla Phonics saying, good morning to all, and I'm glad to see you back, Rosemary. Shamant said, I prayed for your speedy recovery many times.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. And then if you want to start in with questions,
Yes.
Maria has the first question.
All right, Maria, go for it. You do realize, though, all of you. Okay, here's the thing. I have to remind you, maybe, because it's been so long. As soon as you stop interacting with me, we stop because we obviously realize that you don't want any more from us. This is why off the cuff is good because, and coming up to Halloween, maybe some of you will have questions about ghosts and ghouls.
Well, this is interesting. Rosemary just disappeared off the screen, and I do not know why. Maybe she had a phone call that came in that knocked her off. So we will wait a minute and see if she can manage to log herself back in, which with one hand is pretty darn tricky. So stay tuned, watch your screen, and we'll be back as soon as we can.
Chris,
You are live, Rosemary, but we cannot see you.
there we are.
There we go.
I've no idea how this works.
Welcome back.
Well, I just had a little emergency. My grandson's puppy Samantha just caught him with some rat poison. So
Oh
she's
my God.
taking him to the vet. Sorry about that, everyone. I'll keep you all updated. All right. Um, okay, Chris.
All right, so I'm going to go.
Maria, if I remember correctly, Maria had a question.
Yes. How can you ask to communicate with guides and know they are around? Also, I was a little girl when I found your first book, and you are my introduction to the spirit world. So thank you, Rosemary.
Oh, Marie, you're very welcome. Well, by guides, I'm thinking you must mean your family and your friends in the spirit world. And so, how can you communicate with them? How can you learn to communicate with them? I've said this so many times to people. It seems maybe I should write a book on this. It seems it's what I'm going to suggest to you seems to be very simple, but I promise you it's the best thing that you can do, which is to find 10 minutes of every day. Put away your cell phone, put away your iPad, your computers. Just go in a room where they're not so they don't disturb you, or turn them all off. Go to a place where there are no distractions whatsoever, and you can sit. It doesn't have to be a dark room. Just make sure of that. Just go and find a quiet place. It can be in the garden, it can be inside, wherever it is, but find a quiet place where there are going to be absolutely no disturbances for 10 minutes. Only 10 minutes, that's all you need. And then all you need to do is you need to sit quietly. First thing you say to your whoever it is, your loved ones in the spirit world, I'm here for you. This 10 minutes is here for you. If you'd like to come and be with me, that would be fabulous. If you'd like to let me know you're around, I would love it. I'm going to listen and to try and tune in as much as I can. And then you shut up and you don't have any other thoughts, and you don't think, give me a message, give me a sign. You don't think any of those things. You sit quietly for 10 minutes and you listen and you wait and you pay attention. Excuse me. You pay attention to every one of your um, senses, every single one of your senses, your sight, your hearing, every single thing, and you just pay attention to them, and you sit quietly and you wait for them to show themselves. Now, you might have to do this for a week or a month. You might have to do it for a year before you see or sense anything. But those who do this on a daily basis will eventually, and I'm sure it won't take a year for those of you who are really sincere about doing it, um, eventually you will see or you will sense or you will become aware of your loved ones in the spirit world. And then you pay attention and you listen carefully to what it is they have to say. I think we're so busy sometimes saying, where are you? Give me a sign, show yourself to me. And all that does is it puts pressure on those in the spirit world. And there's pressure enough in doing this. There's emotional pressure in doing this. You know, can you imagine someone you love in the spirit world who desperately wants to get to talk to you, desperately wants to show you that they're around, but they can't get a word in edgeways because you know, where are you? Why can't I sit? Da, 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 da. And you're so busy talking to them. You're talking at them instead of listening to them. So that's the first step. And you need to do this every day. If you're really sincere about wanting to connect, it's only 10 minutes of every day, but we all know how hard that 10 minutes in a day can be to find, don't we? But that's the best suggestion I can give you for now. Chris.
All right, the next question is from Barb. Barb says, Rosemary, can you request several spirits while having a consultation?
Well, Bob, you know I love you, but I would never call them spirits. So if you're having a consultation with me, because I can't speak to anyone else and other people work differently, I will always, at the beginning of the consultation, I will always, after saying there are no guarantees, making sure everyone knows there are no guarantees, what I always say, this is how I begin my consultations. There are no guarantees. If for any reason it does not work to my satisfaction, not necessarily yours, but to mine, because let me tell you, my standards are way higher than you could possibly imagine. If it does not work to my satisfaction, then, you know, then we can do one or two things. No matter how long it takes, I will return your money, or we'll try again and again, I'm not quite sure how long, with no charge. We'll just keep trying until those in the spirit world manage to connect. Fortunately, 99% of the time they do manage to connect. So your question is, can you request? Well, then after I've explained what I'm going to do, I then say to people, if this works and if it's possible, who in the spirit world would you like to connect with? And some people might just say one person, and some people might have a whole list of people. And I sort of draw the line at the let's not bother with 10. But can other people come through as we're having a consultation? Of course, because what we're doing is that when I begin to see someone in the spirit world, even if only one of them takes over and starts to talk, and that sometimes happens, I'll often see many, many others, some just wanting to join in and be there. Some of them will, hold up their hand and say, it's me, can I say something? So yes, there's no limitation on the amount of people in the spirit world who can come through to talk to us during a consultation. The limitation is my time, because if I spoke to every single person in your family, it could take hours, could take a day, right? So the limitations are on my end, certainly not on the end of those in the spirit world. Those people that we love, our loved ones, those people that I see and I hear and I have conversations with. I know a lot of people don't quite understand how it is that I work. You will never ever hear me say, I sense someone here. You will never ever hear me say, they are telling me. You will never hear me say those things, because when I'm working and giving a consultation, I am looking for someone to actually have a conversation with. Someone I can hear, I can see, I can talk to, I can hear, and we're having a conversation. So I will say, oh yes, I'm giving an example. Yes, I have your mother here and she's telling me this and this, and oh, she's saying this and so on. And sometimes when people have come for a consultation, they ask me a question, someone in the spirit world will answer it before I'm ready to even connect with them. I can hear them chattering away and saying, and giving the answer to the question. So you need to find someone, if you're going to have a consultation, you need to find someone who has a direct, not a vague link, not a, oh, they are telling me, or I feel, or I sense, or something. No. What you need is to find someone who talks to this person talks back, and we hear each other and we see each other and we have a conversation, just as if they're in the room. Oh, wait, they are in the room. So that's what you need to look for, and that's what you need to hopefully that you'll find that, because there are people around who are really great at this. There are some wonderful mediums, but just be aware that not everybody has the same ability, and just understand that a little knowledge can be a very dangerous thing. So when you're choosing someone to have a consultation with, when you're choosing a medium, just be careful. Just be careful. I had a gentleman who had a consultation with me a little while ago, and he actually forgot that he'd had the consult. How would you forget that you had a consultation with me? I don't know, but it does happen. And he admitted that he forgot. So we began the consultation, and he didn't really know what to expect or how it worked. And he thought I was going to be one of those people who, yeah, I sense somebody around here, blah, blah, very vague. And no. And boy, he got it right between the eyes. It was a fantastic consultation. His wife did most of the talking. She was great. Um, she um, she described things and told him things that, through me, of course, that I mean nobody else could know. You know how, a lot of you, we all know how that works. Um, but at the end of the consultation, I said to him, "I don't think you'll ever forget me again, will you?" And he laughed. So that's the kind of person that you want. If you're going to see someone, you're going to see a medium, you want to connect with a medium, that's the kind of person that you want to make those connections with you. As I've said, there are no limits whatsoever on how many people from the spirit world will come through to talk to us. The only limit is me and my time, and of course my sensibilities, because sometimes I'll get a whole crowd of people and they're all trying to talk at once, and we know what that's like. You can't hear anybody properly. So I hope that answers the question. Chris.
This is from Teresa, who is sort of piggybacking on Maria's question, saying,
Hi.
I would like to know about guides also. How
Oh,
do we know when they are telling you something?
okay, well, let's, how many times have I had to do this? Goodness, so many times. A guide. Let's talk about guides. A guide, as in Grey Eagle is my guide. A guide is a highly evolved spiritual being who will only be working with someone like myself who does this 24/7. It's what I do, and it's who I am. It's I didn't become a medium. I was born, and prior to, had these sensibilities and so on. So it is who I am. And a guide is that spiritual entity, highly evolved spiritual entity, who will work with those of us who work in this arena full time. Um, to imagine that all of us have a guide is a bit of a nonsense, really. It's like a first year nurse uh, expecting, when she goes for a training, the head of the hospital is going to be walking around with her, and and giving her training, putting her through a training. Well, we know it's not going to happen, don't we? So if we can use that analogy for those of us who do not work full time in this arena, who do not give up their time and energy in that way, our guides, loosely, they're not our guides, they're our loved ones in the spirit world, and sometimes our friends in the spirit world. It could be family, it could be a grandmother who died prior to our birth, who is sort of was there at the birth in her way, and taken a shine to you and thought, oh, she's lovely, I want to hang around this one. And you will get guidance and help from that source. It could be a father or a mother, it could be a brother, it could be a good friend who will come through to try and help and guide and steer you. So, bearing that in mind, as I've said, the 10-minute sit quietly for 10 minutes and listen. Um, you need to listen with all of your senses, with all of your five senses. Everybody talks about the sixth sense. How do we find the sixth sense? How do we get the sixth sense? And I've tried and tried over all of my hundreds of years doing this. I've tried to explain to people that our sixth sense is our five senses: sight, even if you're blind. We're not talking about sight through our eyes. We're talking about sight that goes beyond the ordinary sight. We're talking about hearing that goes beyond the ordinary. We can extend our sight. Um, listen, listen with your eyes. That's the rainbow song. How do you listen with your eyes? Well, it's very simple, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to take our five, what we call natural senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and one other one. What is it? Whatever that is, I can't think what it is. But anyway, we have our five normal senses, and what we do when we're listening, when we put ourselves in that place when we're quiet and we're listening, we are attempting to raise our level of consciousness. We are attempting to tune in, if you like. We are attempting to raise our level of consciousness to the point where our five senses all come together and they're tuned in together. And when they all come together and they meld together and they're all tuned and highly sensitized, that is when our sixth sense kicks in. So our sixth sense is a combination of all of our five senses. So, so that's why it's important to find that 10 minutes of every day. You can do it for longer if you like, but at least 10 minutes of every day just to tune in, just to make yourself aware, just to pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, your senses, your everything that is around you. I often walk down the street or I'm in a supermarket and people have got their earplugs in and they're listening to whatever they're listening to the music, or they're talking to their friends, or they're and they are, as they're walking along the street, they are oblivious, literally oblivious to the world around them. So how are they ever going to see, to sense, or to be aware? So take your earphones out. Spend time away from the computer, even if it's only for 10 minutes a day. But when you're walking around, pay attention. Pay attention to people around you. Pay attention to the world around you. I mean, for some people, literally a bomb could drop and they would still be listening to their music or chatting to their friends and totally and absolutely oblivious to what is going on around us. Those tiny winged creatures, as the Native Americans would call them, those tiny winged creatures, butterflies, bees, birds, dragonflies, you name it. All of those tiny winged creatures who the spirit world asks, will you send a message to my daughter? Will you send a message to my grandson? Will you send a all of those tiny winged creatures all around us, trying to give us messages, trying to give us signs. Um, and we're oblivious because the earphones are in. It frustrates me no end. The earphones are in, the computer's on, everybody's focused on world events, and there's nothing wrong with being focused on world events, but it would be good to focus on otherworldly events, wouldn't it? Chris?
Shamanth says, my grandfather, Vinakaya, passed away more than a year ago. We really miss him. Is there any message from him?
There is not a message from him because we're just getting back into this, and so unfortunately, no direct message, but Gregor has his hand on my shoulder to tell you that everything is well and everything is as it should be. Chris?
Mary says, it's amazing to see you back. God bless you always.
Thank
Plus, I love your rainbow song. Does Gray Eagle have any message to help with my kids?
Oh gosh, wow. Oh, you're not going to like this, Mary. It's all very well people tell you that you've got to have this, but it's very hard to have this. But the one word that comes in really, really strongly from Gregor is patience. I think something's going on with your kids at the moment, or maybe with you, and you probably very frustrated at the moment. Patience, patience, patience. We'll see the day become calmer. Oh, yes. Well, patience. I have immense patience. I have tremendous patience for so many things, but every now and again, so little patience for some things. So, patience if you can. Try it. Ooh, I don't envy you.
All right, the next one is from Medi Monheim. What are the other side telling you about what is happening now? Fondest love from Istanbul.
Oh, well, isn't it lovely to have somebody from Istanbul? Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. I mentioned this briefly last week, and the truth of the matter is that the world has always been this way, one way or another. There have been wars, there's been fighting, there have been arguments and upsets, some of them small, some of them not so small. It's terrifying at the moment, and the reason it seems to us to be worse than it ever has been before is that, you know, we didn't have computers, we didn't have access to the world, we didn't have access to what was going on in all of these different countries. We were ignorant of what was going on in all of these countries. And we were also ignorant of what the politicians were doing, what the politicians were saying. I think, honestly, that we are still somewhat ignorant in our knowledge because um, the media is the worst. Now, I have to tell you that I've had wonderful experience of the media, and they've always treated me, not all of them, but majority of them have always treated me wonderfully and with respect. But we do know that the media is slanted. It is in every part of the world. I'm not just talking about the American media. In every part of the world, the media is slanted towards whatever uh, beliefs. There was a time when a reporter had to be completely straight, whatever happened, his own feelings and his own personality and his own belief systems and his own preferred politics did not come into it. That does not happen anymore. Absolutely does not happen anymore. There are certain programs in American TV, and you can see it's slanted towards the Biden lot. And I'm not going to say any more about that. And then there are those other shows that are slanted towards the Republican lot. Um, and we don't get a true account because it's called bias. And there is a book, and I forget now who wrote this book, but he worked for one of the big news corporations, and the book is called Bias. And if you can get a hold of the copy of that book, and I'm not a political person really, because we can't do anything about it, so I can't worry about it. But if you could get hold of the book called Bias, I'm telling you, by this guy who worked for one of the huge media TV shows and also wrote for the New York Times. Um, it's an amazing book, and he gives examples of bias within the media. So when you're asking me what do I think, um, I have to I have to go back to the times prior to all of the media that we have access to now, prior to all of the news and all of the things that we have access to, because in those days you could say it was more peaceful, or certainly it was so much less. There was so much less violence. It seemed there was so much less violence going on, and we lived in a world that was much calmer and so on. But it isn't true. Those things were still going on and have always on in this world. There has always been conflict in this world of one uh, way or another. And there have always been people who are biased one way or another. And the intolerance of the world, I think it's only become more so because we know more about it. And so people get, wound up and worked up because we actually now it's in our face. Every time we turn around, there is some other bad news or bad person doing some bad thing or what have you. I think that in these times that do seem so awful to us, no different than the beginning of time, except, perhaps the weapons have gotten stronger, harder, worse, whatever, but still, no different. I think what we have to do in these cases is to look at ourselves and to look at our beliefs. If I go into a hall and I'm giving a workshop or a lecture or something, one of the questions I will ask is, how many of you here believe in God? And you can pretty much say that 99.9% of the people in that room will put their hands up, right? Well, I believe in God. I'm sure we all believe, all of you listening, you all believe in God. But it's not enough to believe. You can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. And if you believe in God and you believe in the power of goodness in this world, one way or another, that power and that goodness will shine through. And I believe that wholeheartedly. So rather than becoming desperate and despondent and worried and nervous, I try my very best. Sometimes it's not easy, but I try my very, very best to focus on the positive, to focus on the good, to focus on what is actually my belief, my trust. It's not enough to say I believe. It's not enough to talk the talk. You've got to walk the walk. When my daughter was very ill a few years ago, um, I know that so many people in that same situation would have been praying to God, would have been begging, would have been bargaining sometimes, would have been however it is that we all deal with those things. And what I did was I became still. I became still inside. Do I believe that whatever is happening is for a reason? Do I believe in my God? Do I walk the walk as well as talk the talk? And that's what I did. I became still and I became trusting. I put my hands in God's hands. I put my life in God's hands. I put my daughter's life in God's hands. Whenever I've always done this all of my life, whenever I have a problem that seems too big for me, too overwhelming for me, that I cannot sort it out in my head, I'm getting a bit paranoid or worried or whatever it is. When that problem becomes too big for me, I hand it over. Dear God, this problem is way too big for me. I have to hand it over. Now, the problem is that when you hand it over, that's when you have to be still. Because when you hand it over, you have to let God take charge. You can't take actions. You can't say, I'm handing it over, but I'm taking it back. Well, I'm handing it over and I'm taking, no, you can't do that. You have to trust, you have to have faith, and you have to believe. And I believe in God and I believe in the power of goodness, a thousand percent. And I believe that for all of the turmoil and the trauma that is going on in this world, I believe that we are exactly where we need to be, exactly where God wants us to be. And all we can do is look for the positives, look for the sunshine, be kind, be gentle in our own circle, in our own little world. Just be the best that we can be. Send out our prayers to the universe, and that's pretty much as we can do. What do I think about it all? I don't think it's any different than it was 20 years ago. I don't think it was any different than 40 years ago. I actually don't think it was any different than 100 years ago or even 200 years ago. I think that, perhaps the violence then was with swords and daggers, and now it's with, whatever it is people are using. But it's the same. It is the same. There are tyrants in this world, and there always have been. There are those who cause misery, and there always have been. It's just that now we have so much connection to every. I mean, look, we have a lovely person from Istanbul connecting with us. So we are able to connect with the rest of the world like we never did before. So, my advice to all of you is to try and remember that the only thing that we can do is to trust God. Put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. You can say, I believe, easy. I believe in God, I believe in angels, but do you? So, as hard as it might be, you've not only got to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. Chris.
All right, this question is from Destiny, and it's a question for Gray Eagle, although she's also prefacing it with, I will send lots of healing to your grandson's baby puppy.
Oh, thank you.
Actually, so the name Destiny, I'm sorry, it's from Jan. Jan is asking Gray Eagle, I'm on the right path. Am I on the right path with my spiritual work?
Oh, I hope you're ready for this answer, Jan. Okay. The answer is yes for now. But as you proceed, there will be crossroads. And as you proceed further, there'll be more crossroads. What you have to do when you come to your crossroads is trust in you, trust in who you are, trust in what you feel, not necessarily in what others advise you, but trust in you, trust in your faith. Remember what I've just said. We just talked about trusting God, but absolutely, He's smiling. He's very pleased. So whatever it is you're doing okay. But when the crossroads come, don't get upset and don't get disappointed. Just see it as a crossroads, and then decide. Go with your feelings. Go with your heart. And even if it means walking away from these people to go with these people, you'll know what I'm talking about when it happens. If that's how you're feeling, and you're trusting in God, and you trust that you're being led and you're being guided by your loved ones in the spirit world, you'll make the right decisions. So good for you. I'd like to know more about it. Anyway, Chris.
The next question is from Melissa. Hi, I want to know, how do I know if when I dream about deceased family members, is it a visitation or just a dream?
Oh, well, Melissa, oh gosh, you no idea how many times I, excuse me, I get that question. You'll know. You will absolutely know. Um, there will be something inside of you that will tell you. You know, you know how you wake up and you have this startling. It seems like a startling dream or a very strong dream, and then you say, well, it was just a dream, but there's something inside of you that says, but it was so real. And then, no, 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 it was just a dream. I can't trust myself enough. I know, it's just a dream. It's just, and then something will say, but it was so real. And when you find yourself saying it was so real, then trust yourself and trust that it is real. Absolutely, without a doubt, that your loved ones in the spirit world are coming to visit you. And by the way, I actually think it's real too. I think your loved ones are coming to you to let you know that they're there for you and to try to help you in this particular time that you're going through right now. Chris.
The next question is from Vicky.
Hi, Vicky.
My son has been gone for 10 years. I don't sense his signs anymore. Am I missing them or have they stopped? Can he verify a sign he's sent?
The only thing I can tell you is I'm listening to Grey Eagle here for this one, because I know nothing, so I just got to rely on Grey Eagle here for this. But so the answer to your question, he's still very much with you, not as much as he was, growing and learning, sending signs, but not as many, because we all know, my darling, you never would get over something like this, but we learn to live with it, and we somehow manage to put our life back to some semblance of what it was. But you will never get over it, and nor will he, and nor does he want to, and nor do you want to, I think. Yes, he is still sending signs, but not as often, because you don't need them as often. When you need, I'm hearing someone standing with Gregor saying, "When you need me, I will be there." Okay, that's it. Chris.
This is from Kayla Phonic. Rosemary, how are spirit guides assigned to someone? Can you have more than one spirit guide? In your case, Gray Eagle, did he pick you or was he assigned to you? Thank you for answering.
Um, well, as it happens, there are no really set rules here. Not that I know of, anyway. Grey Eagle and I were together prior to my birth to this earth. So we knew each other, and I like to say that, it could have been him on this earth plane because he was on this earth plane at one time, or it could have been me and I drew the short straw. It's not really true, in that I love this life and I love my life, and I look at my family and I see what a fabulous life I've had. Um, but I joke when I get the short straw, because uh, I, I I think he knows so much more than I do, and sometimes I would like to know as much, and it's just my frustration, because sometimes it's frustrating when you want to know something and you've got to keep asking somebody else for the answer, and then they say, find out, figure it out for yourself. Our spirit guides assigned, in my case, I can tell you, we knew each other, we've known each other before, way before. So I don't know that we were assigned. I think we were just meant to be together. And as I said to you earlier, a spirit guide is a highly evolved spiritual entity. To have more than one seems to be, why would you? Why would you need more than one? I mean, I don't get it. So when you hear people talking about the multiple spirit guides that they have, it may well be just their need to have them rather than the reality of having them. I've got to be very careful here. I don't want to upset anyone. And if you think differently, by all means think differently. If you think you know more than I do, you may well do. I'm not the guru. I don't know everything. But I did have, and for those of you who read my first book, The Eagle and the Rose, which is still in publication, by the way, and still selling amazingly. It has become a classic. A couple of years ago, we celebrated the 25th publication of the book, 25 years. So now it's whatever it is, 27 or something. Anyway, so me, my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, all of my loved ones in the spirit world. Prior to Grey Eagle coming into my life, I did have a Scotsman who appeared by my bed one morning. Now, isn't that a dream? Wouldn't you wish for that? A really handsome Scotsman, and I'm half Scots, half Welsh, so that works for me. And he was there for a while, I think, preparing me for, let's say, for the big guns. as soon as, even prior to Gregor coming into my life, as I knew him to be in my life, the Scotsman one day was there, and he was there for a long time, and the next thing he was gone, and there was no explanation. I was confused, and I was, what happened? And then Gregor came in. So I think I was being prepared for the idea of spirit guides. And then when Gregor came in, that's it. He is the one and the only. Because why would I need, when I have a highly evolved, really highly evolved, when I talk about highly evolved, knowledgeable, experienced, sensitive, beyond anything that you could believe, why would I need another? So I'm not sure if I've helped you or if I've hindered you there. Chris.
Nathaniel says, thank you, Sister Rosemary, so very much.
Hi, my darling. How are you?
And then Teresa says, great explanation. Thank you, Rosemary. Robin says, I love that you're live. Thank you, and sending peace.
Thank you.
Betta is on saying, dear Rosemary, I'm glad to find you well. This look suits you a lot. My question is, when we ask our guardian angel for support, how do we know that he has listened to us? Can they turn bad luck into good?
Better. I love you. Seems like forever since I've heard from you. How do we know that our angels are listening to us? Again, trust. You can't say I believe in angels and then not believe in them, or wonder at their motives and so on. Can they turn good luck to bad, or vice versa? Well, okay, our angels are actually only there for us because God has dictated that they be there for us. Our spirit guides are a whole other thing, but our angels work purely and simply for God and for that God force. So when that God force is at work, what we have to do is to trust it. And that's what I want you to do better. I want you to trust. Your angels are on your side. It's not a question of turning bad luck into good luck. Your angels are on your side. Allow them to guide you and to steer you in the right way. And when we allow them to steer us in the right way, then only good can come out of a bad situation. And the bad situation is only, she says, I'm thinking about my hand here. The bad situation is it's just one of those things. We come to this earth to learn and to grow. As Gradle has said many times, if I were to smooth your path and leave no wrinkles, no boulders, no mountains to climb, no holes to fall into, if I were to smooth your path and leave no wrinkles, where would your learning process be? So we all of us experience the negative. We all of us experience the downside, and it's not what we're experiencing, it's how we're dealing with the experience that counts. It is frustrating, as you all know. Let me tell you, it is so frustrating. This hand does not work properly. I had to buy myself an electric can opener. I'm hoping it's coming on Friday, because then I can't do anything. It's a stupid thing. Anyway, and a friend of mine sent me a jar opener. I'm finding all these little gadgets that help. Anyway, we turn the negative into the positive with the way we deal with what is given to us. We can't change what is happening. We can't change what is given. I can't change the fact that some lovely little girl screwed up my hand when she put the cast on it. I can't change that. But what I can make sure to do is, as much as it hurts and as much as the pills sometimes put me to sleep, as much as I need the pills sometimes because of the pain, And I'm not a pill taker, let me tell you. Before all of this, if I took an aspirin, my daughter would think there was something dire going on with me, because I never ever take pills. I've never taken medication anyway. But it's how we deal with it. It's what we do with it. It's for me. This is just one more way for me to learn and to have the experience that so many people have had, and so many people have had much worse than this. My goodness, so much worse than this. But you get a little taste of it, and I think it helps to make you a little bit more compassionate. Um, it it tests your patience, but that's what life is about: negative stuff and positive stuff. So I'll choose to go with the positive, and I want you to do the same thing. Chris.
All right, I have two people asking very similar questions, so I'll read both
Okay.
questions. Julia asks, may I ask how you can speak to people in the spirit world from another country? You once spoke to my mother for me, but she is Dutch. Do people speak universal language? Thank you and lots of love. And then the second is Melissa. If you have a consultation with individuals from the spirit world who spoke Spanish or another language, do you hear them in English?
Yes. Uh, yes. Well, it's a bit. Yes. it's it, it's slightly more complex. So let me explain. My One of my biggest challenges was when I was talking to uh, a family in in Japan. Yes, it was Japan, and I could understand the people in the spirit world perfectly well, because as we're working, as we're talking in the spirit world, we have this. The only way I can describe it is it's a universal language. It's a language that we all understand. Um, it's more sometimes of a thought process. So when those thoughts come through from someone else, even if they're in Japanese or Dutch or whatever it is, when I'm receiving those thoughts, I'm receiving those thoughts in a language that I can understand. So it's a sort of a universal language. The difficulty is talking to people who are still here on this earth. If they don't speak English, and they come to see me, they need to bring an interpreter with them, because otherwise I'm lost. So in the spirit world, we have this universal mind language, and it's very easy for me to understand. I don't even have to work at it. Initially, when I very in the very early days, when I first started working like this, I was given signs and symbols, and weirdly, and some of the signs and symbols were, it was like looking, it was a little bit like picking up a book of road signs, and we know there are loads of different road signs: stop, go, railway crossing, bridges, water, all that sort of thing. We know there's lots of different signs, right? And we open it up for the first time. We look without reading the words. We look at the signs. We wouldn't have a clue what they meant. Well, we know what stop and start goes, but we basically wouldn't know what the other signs meant. But when I very, very, very first began, it was so easy to work with signs somehow, without anyone telling me. And of course, I had Gregor with me, but without him even having to explain what it meant, I just knew what those signs and symbols meant. If someone had had a split in a relationship, if someone was in distress over something, if all these signs and symbols were around as I was talking to people, I could see these signs and symbols also at the same time connecting with their loved ones and listening to their loved ones. But it was simpler and easier for me, quicker for me, to grasp what I was being told, what they were trying to say to me. We don't use signs and symbols anymore. We sort of I don't know, outgrew them or something. We don't need, what did we do? What did I, not did he do, what did I do? What did I do? I learned and didn't need them anymore. And so, I forgot what the question was, but anyway, what was the question?
It has to do with
Right.
language.
So I'm hoping I'm making some sense to you then. So yes, there is a universal language, which whether someone is whatever they are, from Istanbul, from Japan, from France. I know a smattering of French and a little bit of German, but not enough to have a proper, real conversation with somebody. And that's what I like to do when I talk to people in the spirit world. We have a real conversation. So we have this universal language which needs no translation whatsoever. The problem is the translation. If someone comes to me, the Japanese experience I told you about, I had this young man, Japanese man, and his friend was Australian. So his Australian friend had come to me for a consult, and then he said, if I bring my Japanese friend who doesn't speak much English, would that work? Can I interpret for him? And 5 hours later, it actually worked. We did a fabulous job. It was great, and everybody was happy. But the Australian guy who said I'll translate, his idea of translation was the Japanese guy would say something to him, and then he would shout at me, loudly shout at me, what he thought he might mean but didn't really know. But if you shouted it loud enough, it's like talking to someone who's deaf, isn't it? If you shout loud enough, you think they're going to hear you. So no, no language barriers here, I'm pleased to say.
All right. Well, you're actually over time, Rosemary.
Really? Is that it?
Really?
Do we have one more question?
Yes, we have a question from Julia. Julia says, I have cluster headaches and depression. Has Gray Eagle some advice for me on how to go on? I'm so happy that you are back and lots of love for all.
Well, Julia, we're going to send you some healing. We're going to get rid of those cluster headaches. But I would suggest you that this is coming from Grey Eagle now. I would suggest that you take a look at what you're eating and what you're drinking. I think you've got 2 or 3 different things going on. I think you've got a lot of emotional pressure, could be family, whatever that's going on there, which is causing tension. There's nothing worse than tension to give you headaches, but I do think it also has something to do with what you're eating or drinking, which can trigger things as well. If you find it helpful, I think you can get it online, or if you write to us, we can send you a healing CD. We have 4 of them, which may help you. You may already have it, Julia. Give the Gift of Healing is the one I would suggest to you, and also some sort of quiet meditation. The meditations that I do them. So when you get my CD, you'll hear my little dulcet tones. I'll be talking you through your healing meditation, and then that might help you too. But I would suggest you try a little meditation of some kind. But I also think it's got something to do with what you're eating or drinking. It's the best I can do, but I hope you pay attention and take a real good look at what's going on there. All right, I think that's it then, Chris. We're up to time, and thank you everyone for joining me once again. It's gone fast. It's been a very, very busy morning. We shall hopefully be back here next Thursday. Bring your questions with you and pay attention to your emails, or pay attention to the website, because we will possibly be doing something next week, maybe an off the cuff. My friend Eric, I don't know if he's watching today, but my friend Eric suggested the off the cuff might make me feel better, he said. So I'm willing to try anything to make me feel better and brighter. And of course, I love talking to you all. If we do an off the cuff, it will be in the late afternoon or early evening sometime next week, possibly on Halloween. In the meantime, if I don't see you again, have a wonderful, fantastic rest of the weekend, because really we're almost there. But have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Be kind, be gentle, be loving. Don't be afraid to be loving. Um, and hopefully I'll see you on Halloween, and if not on Halloween, sometime next week. And definitely, hopefully, I'm afraid to say definitely because I never quite know what's happening right now. But anyway, hopefully next Thursday I'll see you all again. Until I see you then, thank you to Grey Eagle. Thanks to Chris for the facilitating. Thank you to all of you for joining in. Thank you for all your thoughts and your prayers. I do appreciate it. So till I see you next time, bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.